This is the Lava Blaze X 5G disassembly. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, make sure you subscribe and click on the notification bell so you'll be notified once I upload a new video. Also, if you need any tools, there are links in the description. First, we'll start off by removing the SIM tray. Looking at the SIM tray, we can see a red rubber gasket around the opening. Now heat needs to be applied to the back plate using either a hairdryer or a heat gun to loosen up the adhesive underneath, and then a pry tool can be used to pry the back plate off. I prefer to use a hairdryer since there's less of a chance of damaging any of the components inside by overheating them. Here's a look at the plastic backplate. The glass camera lens cover can be replaced by applying heat and prying it off, so you don't need to take apart the phone to replace that. At this point, there are 16 Phillips screws which need to be removed. Now the 2 megapixel macro lens needs to be peeled off from this plastic cover. Looking at the top plastic cover, we see the LED flash located here, as well as an antenna flex cable on this corner. On the other side, we see an area of graphite film to help transfer heat. The battery cable can now be disconnected, followed by the rest of the cables. The coaxial cables on the left side of the board can be disconnected by just popping them off. Looking at the main board, we see the 64 megapixel primary camera. This camera does not have OIS or optical image stabilization. The camera connectors can be disconnected by just popping them off. There's a secondary microphone on the top corner, as well as some copper tape and graphite film to help transfer heat. Looking at the other side, we see the 16 megapixel front-facing camera, as well as the proximity and ambient light sensor. There's also additional graphite film and a lot of thermal paste on the back to help transfer heat. Once the graphite film and copper tape have been peeled back, we see a thermal pad which is seated on top of the processor. Here's a look at the bottom speaker assembly, and there's a mesh filter and rubber gasket over the opening. This flex cable connects the main board to the subboard. Looking at the subboard, we see the primary microphone which is located here, as well as the charger port, and there's a red rubber gasket around the charger port. The SIM reader is located on the other side. The vibrator motor is located here, which is held down with some adhesive, and the same goes for the fingerprint scanner located next to that. If you need to replace either of those, just apply some heat and pry them off. If you happen to accidentally insert your SIM ejector tool in the wrong hole, on this phone you don't need to worry, since both the filters and the microphones on the top and bottom are seated above the holes so they won't get damaged. To remove the battery, there's a pull pouch provided to help you pry it off. This is the 5000 mAh battery. Once the battery has been removed, we can see the flex cable for the screen, which is routed through an opening in the midframe. So if you needed to replace the screen, you'd have to remove the back cover, the screws on the top plastic cover and the cover itself, disconnect the screen cable, the battery cable, and the flex cable connecting the main board to the subboard, and then pry the battery off, giving you access to the screen cable, at which point you would heat up the front of the phone where the screen is to loosen up the adhesive underneath, pry the old screen off, apply new adhesive, and reapply the new screen, making sure you run the flex cable back to the opening in the midframe, and reassemble the phone. The flex cable for the volume keys and power button is located here. To replace that, just peel it off and remove it from the frame. And the top earpiece speaker is located here, which is also held down with some adhesive, so again to replace that, just apply some heat and pry it off. For the repairability score on this phone, I give it a 5 out of 10. Now it's time to put the phone back together. Once everything's back in place, apply new adhesive and reapply the back cover. Flip over the phone, power it on, and you're done. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.